morning.
Hello everyone, good morning. My name is Hélder Pinheiro. I'm leading the Data and AI stream, and I'm pleased to have here with me on stage Alves, CIO of Vieira de Almeida. And our goal for today's session is to give you our perspective on how the transformers are actually the ones that are going to survive in today's GenAI world that we are living in. We would like to start delving a bit into how it is the current perception and how are the current advancements when it comes to GenAI. Here, what you see on the left is a set of technical capabilities that we humans normally do. What this data tell us at the end is that experts start to believe that AI is going to reach human-level performance much sooner than before. And this is true after the conception of GenAI because they saw increasing performance when compared to the traditional AIs that we used to work. On the right, what you see is that GenAI is enabling automations in areas that in the past were really difficult to automate, things like decision-making, collaboration, or data management. So the message here is, on the left, GenAI brought us advancements in performance, but not only in performance, in new areas as well. And of course, this is going to bring impact. Impact that we can measure by verticals. What you see there on the right is the verticals that we work on that are mostly being impacted by GenAI. Impacted here means both an opportunity and a risk at the same time. You see that legal there, number 2. You see the computer IT overall is also within the most prominent group of impact. And what this tells us is GenAI is going to have an impact on a huge variety, or on a huge spectrum of actuation of verticals, regardless of our companies being more core business focus on technology or where our core business is less focus on the technology. And this is not just a study that tells us this. If you look into the literature, it might differ a bit, but at the end, everyone is pointing into the same direction.
So this is not such news. There are several studies over the last decade that already pointed out for major disruptions on the legal industry regarding to GenAI. In a business where words are at the basis, the GenAI will put a lot of pressure in order to put some changes in the legal industry. But perhaps the main challenge is going to be the legacy hourly rate business model. Nowadays, the majority of legal services are still provided based upon effort plus a rate for that effort. Even though internally, the individual performance models that are used to measure the performance of the lawyers are also based upon effort. On top of that, even customers themselves don't want or have difficulties to accept different business models. So why change? There's no reason to change. Everybody is happy with this. This is not the main challenges also. There are other ones. In spite of great efforts from the law schools, there are not still digital lawyers at the same rate, at the same speed that technology is evolving. The Bar Association is changing also, but also not at the same speed that the legal industry needs to change in order to be able to adopt GenAI. Data itself, which is right important to fuel AI, is not totally available, or at least is not available in a very high quality manner.
So Rui showed us some of the challenges that we face in the legal. Of course, IT service providers, managed service providers, MSPs, face their own challenge as well, both internal and external ones. Let's start with business challenge, internal ones. As it is the same that Rui just explained, a substantial part of our IT service sales still rely a lot also in the number of hours that we work on something. And if we bring in a technology like a GenAI that is going to enable productivity gains, so at the end it means is that we are going to send more to our clients while working less hours. And if we do the calculation based on the number of hours that we work, we are decreasing the revenue at the end. Another challenge, external one, in terms of business is if you have two companies operating in the same spectrum, in the same area, if one of those is using GenAI, if GenAI is bringing productivity gains to that company, the other one that is not using GenAI might become uncompetitive. The price tag to do exactly the same scope can be higher than the competitors. And in some way, GenAI is lowering the entrance point to technology, at least part of technology, things like development. And the fact that GenAI is making access to the technology easier, it might bring additional players to the market and, of course, put additional pressure. And picking on the same point of view, the fact that we are lowering the barrier, new people might start to look into the technology, and the fact that we are making it accessible, people might start taking decisions solely based on the model's output without really understanding what is there, and most importantly, the consequences associated to the decisions that we take. And we should not forget GenAI has considerations associated with IP, privacy, regulations that are really important, and we must be aware and we must be prepared to comply with. We discussed a bit about the challenge, but of course there are solutions. How can we tackle those? Business, let's talk about business. If it is the case, if it makes sense, of course, the first thing that we need to do is we should try to ditch the hourly based calculations. We should focus on deliverables, we should focus on products, we should focus on service. And because of this, the way that we measure our work also needs to change. From number of hours that we worked to units to complexity of the deliverables that we sent. The way that we communicate with our clients also need to change, from effort to value, to KPIs, to SLAs, to SLOs related to the offer that we sent, related to the contracts that we have with our clients. And the most important thing, there is no silver bullet when it comes to evolving our business model to cope with this nature. What we need to understand is that we need to seek a business model that is going to respect the DNA of our company, and at the same time is going to be able to accommodate all the benefits and characteristics associated with GenAI. In terms of our daily operations, something that all of our companies need to have in order to be able to integrate GenAI in our current activities is a culture of trying, is a culture of experimentation, regardless of how successful or unsuccessful those are going to be. And in GenAI, of course, we must try it. We try it, we should pick up a scope, relatively limited scope, something quick, something slightly inexpensive, through pilots, for instance, see, assess where it can bring impact in our daily business, and implement, and start to measure. If after measuring we see the value, then we invest. We do the training, we invest in infrastructure, we invest in the means. And only after this, to make it corporate-wise, and only after this, we try to go to the next level. We try to expand to newer things. We try to create something new. And we should not forget, with GenAI, we should put in place guidelines, governance bodies for IP, privacy, and regulations.
Taking upon the regulations, this is the first regulation that is coming. This is EU AI Act. The EU AI Act appears as the first major legislation for Europe, and it aims to ensure that AI is safe, transparent, accountable, and is aligned with privacy and general rights adoption. So this was a summary by ChatGPT, so if everything is wrong, don't blame me, blame GenAI. Nevertheless, trying to explain what is the Act. The Act introduces risk approach management to the adoption of GenAI. So unacceptable risks are going to be prohibited. These unacceptable risks are the ones that are aligned with the manipulation of people or exploiting some groups in terms of culture. The high-risk GenAI solutions must be mitigated or evaluated in terms of the risk they present themselves to the public in general. Transparency means that each interaction between a human and a GenAI tool must have a disclosure that it is powered by GenAI. The Act also will identify some standards in order to help the developers developing GenAI solutions according to the law and ensuring that they address potential biases in order to the data to be right and correct. And at the end, it ensures that the citizen, the individual, have access to the law if it is negatively affected by AI. So we are talking about lots of variables. We are talking about several scenarios, several things happening at the same time. And at the end, we are talking about change. And this is going to be a change with a capital C, meaning that we have to have a change management program in place. High adoption rates are not possible with just training and literature. That must be a very well-built and well-purposed change management program in place in order to the management having KPIs to manage itself. Well, we have talked about risk, we have talked about people, we have talked about everything, so what about technology? I think that's why most of all are here today. Should I adopt a general available model and tailor it to myself, to my needs? Should I pick up a vertical solution or a more specific solution and integrate it with my systems? I would say that there is no correct answer for this. There are lots of variables, lots of maturity within the companies, and there is not a right solution for that. What we can do is try to explain some things that we are doing and might help you take your decisions. So, implementing and adopting a disruptive technology like this one is not going to be easy to manage in the traditional way. We need to experiment. And experimentation is going to be a very difficult business decision. This means that we might invest without any results. So MVPs are a good method to evaluate the solution and mitigate the risk of no outcome. We have identified 4 main pillars in order to move forward. So the first pillar is set foundations. We need to have an infrastructure, architecture, and security that enables us to have a stable environment for us to experiment and scale when we need to. We need to involve the correct people. So we have to have everybody on board, but taking in consideration that the team should be small enough to be agile. Stakeholders must be there because they are the ones that are going to identify the best use cases, and they are going to be the ones to prove that results are correct. 2-3 months MVPs. If you don't get a product in the end of the MVP, that's not the right project for you to do. So we have to make focus. The sum of good results should be better than the sum of not so good results. So it's easy. Design, build, test, and scale, or trash if that doesn't help. It might be that some cases are not so evident in terms of the results. In that cases, it might make sense to reprioritize, or take it or use it as a parallel project, because the potential should be huge, but you are not going to make results within 2 or 3 months. So what are we really doing at VDA? Well, we are in the early beginning of a long journey. We are aware of that. That journey started more or less a year ago when we decided to do a pilot with ChatGPT over the OpenAI platform. That pilot was about putting 80 people during 2 months, 2-3 months, using ChatGPT as a support for their day-by-day operations. So we have 80 people, 3 months, using ChatGPT in order to understand the value of the GenAI to the firm. After having some good results, we have decided to implement it internally. So we have implemented ChatGPT within our Azure tenant in order mainly to ensure information confidentiality, but also to have the stable environment that I told you before to experiment and scale. After that, we have decided to do some more experimentation. And after some experimentation, we have decided a two-way strategy. For one side, we are going to implement quick win use cases, and the key word here is quick win. So easy, fast, and potential use cases. On the other end of the strategy, when the use case is not so evident to be able to be deployed in a small amount of time, we are tackling and doing partnerships with tech companies in order to access vertical solutions or more specific solutions for these complex use cases. Coming back to the quick win use cases, I would say that the most important for us, being a law firm, is the document Q&A. So we work with documents, so words are at the core of our business. But we are not just talking about a document Q&A, standard one. So we are fine-tuning and adjusting the model in order to help us more in our use cases. So we are going to have a document Q&A standard, and we are going to have document Q&A tuned to projects, tuned to clients, and tuned also to manage some information within our practice areas. In a parallel way, we are working, as I said on my previous slide, on the project which is exploring the data that we have on our knowledge management system in order to make it more available to our lawyers and in order to help them use it better. This is not a quick win, it's a long-term project, but it has lots of potential.
In Claranet, of course, we are a service company. We are supporting our clients onboarding GenAI in their current activities, but we try to walk the talk. So we are trying every day to be a bit better, to be a bit faster. So integrating GenAI in what we do, and what you can see here is some examples of things that we have already in place. A couple of months ago, we put together ClaraGPT not only for Portugal, but for the whole group, where hundreds of people, everyone in the company, can use and take advantage of this productivity gain. We have some prompt automation there, and with this, we gave the benefit and we addressed the IP and privacy concerns that other options are there. And of course, all of this is powered by Microsoft's GenAI stack. Another thing that we did is that normally our HR teams are overloaded with very, very, very repetitive questions. And so what we put together was a GenAI bot in our teams that is able to understand what people is asking and answer properly. And because of this, we are avoiding the overloads of this team, and we are being much quicker and much more consistent responding to those kind of questions that we do about vacations and submitting expenses and so on. And due to the nature of our work, we received thousands of requests from our clients to do certain actions. And in the past, we have a team working on top of our ITSM where it looked at the requests, characterized it, dispatched it to the right team that was able to do the task. And what we did was invested some sum to create a GenAI that is working alongside with our ITSM system, and at the end is doing this with 90% of accuracy, and we are much faster in the dispatching process, and we are saving hundreds of hours from that team. And today we have a much smaller team just monitoring what is being done by the algorithm. And at the end of the day, what Claranet, Vieira de Almeida, both Rui and myself wanted to convey to you is this. In today's GenAI, it is important to challenge ourselves. It is important to try to evolve, and it is important to try to change before we have to. Otherwise, in the future, it might be a bit late. Thank you all.
Thank you.